What is going on, guys? It is Tristan Folks here, and I am currently in Houston, Texas. And today I will be making my NASCAR in-season challenge bracket predictions. So I'm excited to do that. And then on the other hand, we'll also combine this with my thoughts since Nashville, which was the last race I was at. So things will be a little out of order here. So before we get into that bracket prediction, we're going to recap the winners in the Cup Series since Nashville all the way up to Pocono. And then after that, we're going to look at the playoff standings. And then we will get into what my bracket will be. And then notably, my next race is Indianapolis. So that will be the last race of the NASCAR In-Season Challenge with the championship round. So I'm looking forward to that. I also wanted to shout out Amazon Prime for their amazing coverage the past 5 weeks, and they honestly got better and better throughout the season, and they analyze as much as possible. I was a really big fan of the burn bar, and they just really showed that they cared a lot, so they'll be missed. And I just want to say congrats on their first season. And then this in-season challenge tournament will be on TNT, and it will be mainly the same people from the Amazon Prime broadcast crew, so not a lot will change, and we'll just have to see what TNT brings, so I'm looking forward to it. And then after that, we will switch to NBC. After we go over this bracket, I'll discuss my thoughts on the 4 race weekends, and then we'll highlight some drivers, and then lastly, we will take a look at the point standings. So other than that, let's get right into everything. Alright, so at Nashville, we ended up seeing Ryan Blaney winning off pit road strategy and his long run speed. That was the big winner there. The long run speed was truly everything for him, and the strategy call in stage 1, which we were there for it. At Michigan, we saw Denny Hamlin manage to save fuel, which William Byron was not able to do. And then Carson Hocevar unfortunately blew a tire. So Denny Hamlin really got the good side of both of those drivers, honestly. And then at Mexico City, the inaugural weekend for the Cup Series, we saw Shane Van Gisbergen becomes the first full-time rookie since Austin Cindric, who won the 2022 Daytona 500, the winner race in his rookie season as a full-time driver. I know he also did win at Chicago a couple seasons back. That's why I said full-time. So shout out to him. And then at Pocono, we saw more fuel mileage, and this one was Chase Briscoe. He defies the odds, and he ends up saving fuel, and he holds off Denny Hamlin for the win. So a big win for that 19 team, and a really good day for Joe Gibbs Racing. All right, now we're going to highlight what the playoff standings look like if it was to start today. And a reminder, based on Byron being the points leader, that is why he is in first, because of those 15 playoff bonus points. And behind him, you have Kyle Larson, then you have Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell, who have a handful amount of wins. And then we get into Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano, Austin Cindric. You see Chase Briscoe get that win. They have him in 8th. Josh Berry's 9th. Shane Van Gisbergen is in 10th. And then behind him is teammate Ross Chastain, the last winner. And then we see Bubba Wallace in 12th, who has 2 playoff bonus points right now. And then we get into the drivers with 0, which this is wild. You have Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, and Alex Bowman. And then we have Chris Buescher in 16th. Reminder, he did lose 5 playoff bonus points at Kansas, so he's currently -4 right now in playoff bonus points. Alright, so now we're going to get into this bracket, and it's going to be hectic because race 1 of this thing is Atlanta, aka EchoPark Speedway, so it could get crazy. I don't think these races get as crazy as Daytona and Talladega, I'm gonna be honest, but it's gonna not be very easy to predict these accurately. So I've honestly used my gut feeling based on me knowing who's the best at super speedways, who's good at handling while also being a good super speedway racer. And also looking back at the playoff race from last year, and then the race earlier at Atlanta, which we were at earlier as well. So we're going to get right into this thing. I don't feel the seeds really matter, but we're pretty much going to start. I believe it should be 1 through 32, and then after the 8, it just switches, but doesn't really matter to me. So we're just going to get into this thing. I'm not sure how I'm going to set this bracket up just yet. Starting off with our first matchup, we have Ty Dillon against Denny Hamlin. And I feel this one really isn't close, and as long as Denny Hamlin can stay out of trouble, I think he'll be just fine. I know Colleague Racing has been bringing a good amount of speed, honestly, to the racetrack, more than not, but Ty Dillon is really in a slump right now, so I'm going to go with Denny here. Our next matchup, we have Brad Keselowski against Kyle Busch, and I'm going to give this one to Kyle Busch. He's been really good at Atlanta Motor Speedway and at the super speedways as well, so I don't really have any doubts in Kyle Busch right now. It's a matter of staying out of trouble, which I may say this all day. And then on to the next matchup, we have Joey Logano against Alex Bowman. Logano is the defending race winner. I have no doubts that he'll finish ahead of Bowman. The next matchup we have Bubba Wallace against Daniel Suarez. And I kind of thought about this one, but this time I'm going to lean with Bubba Wallace over Daniel Suarez because I thought Wallace ran just fine, honestly, at Atlanta. He ran good. It wasn't great, but I wasn't too impressed with Suarez. He didn't look like himself like the other Atlantas we saw. He could redeem himself. He is the only Trackhouse racing car without a win right now, but honestly, I'm going to lean with Bubba Wallace. This one will probably be close, but that is going to be my option here. Next up, we have Josh Berry against John Hunter Nemechek. I'm going to just pick Josh Berry. He should have had a really good finish at Atlanta this year. I've been really impressed with even what he did at Talladega, but it's a matter of do not shoot yourself in the foot. John Hunter Nemechek's also coming into this race with some good momentum, but I think Josh Berry is going to be very fast like all the other Team Penske cars and the Fords. So I'm going to go Josh Berry here. And then the next one, we have Austin Dillon over Chase Elliott. And coming to Atlanta, I feel confident with Chase Elliott in my opinion. This would be a great opportunity for them to get a win, and I don't have any doubts that they'll outrun Austin Dillon at Atlanta, so that's going to be my choice there. The next matchup, we have Ross Chastain going up against Eric Jones, and for me, I feel Ross Chastain has been quite good at the drafting tracks this year. I feel he could be like a top 10 type of guy. Eric Jones, he could sneak up. We've seen him sneak up here and there, but I feel Ross Chastain does have an opportunity to win this weekend, so I'm going to stick with Ross Chastain here. And then the next matchup, we have the Atlanta winner from February, Christopher Bell. He'll be going up against Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And I am going to throw my first upset here. I feel Christopher Bell has just managed to find his way up from the back to the front. It may be something he'll have to do again, but I don't think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to make it easy for him. I think Ricky Stenhouse Jr. is going to be at the front, and they are going to be desperate because they have dropped like a rock lately, and they just need to get some more momentum the right way and not the wrong way. So I feel this is the weekend to start that off for the 47 team. Next up, we have Noah Gragson against last week's winner, Chase Briscoe. And believe it or not, I'm throwing another upset up there. Noah Gragson has not been good in that 4 car, if I had to be honest, but they have snuck up at these drafting type of tracks, and I just feel we're going to see that type of upset because, as mentioned, the Fords are fast. Briscoe may have some pure speed, but we'll just have to see what happens. But I'm going to pull another upset here. I'm going to put Noah Gragson to move on over Chase Briscoe. After that, we have William Byron going up against Ryan Preece. And honestly, William Byron has been really good at Atlanta, so I'm going to stick with William Byron. I think he'll be running in the top 10 for sure. We know Priest will be fast. He's been underrated at the drafting tracks too. It's not going to be a push off at all, but I do believe Byron is going to have some good speed to also be around in the top 10, and Ryan Priest will just fall shy. Next one up, we have Ryan Blaney going against Carson Hocevar. In this one, I am going to pick Ryan Blaney. I feel he got robbed of a win to Carson Hocevar earlier in February when he got spun out. So this is like a perfect opportunity to redeem yourself. I was impressed with Blaney on those 4 tires at the end. He got all the way back up to, I believe, 4th. So I have a lot of confidence in Ryan Blaney to be the dominant car of this race. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Next up, we got some really good guys getting mashed up here with Kyle Larson against Tyler Reddick. But for me, I'm going to say Kyle Larson. He ended up finishing, I believe, 3rd earlier this year, but also he's been impressive at the super speedways in my opinion. He showed some strides at Talladega. I think he had some good moments at Daytona. He's starting to really figure this thing out, so I feel low-key it's going to be a matter of time until he manages to find a way to win one of these races. And Tyler Reddick, I don't want to say he's in a slump, but they're not winning races or anything right now, and I just feel Kyle Larson is just better right now in general. After that, we have AJ Allmendinger against Michael McDowell. Allmendinger will probably have a fast car, but McDowell understands this type of racing and loves it. And McDowell did come back from multiple laps down earlier this year, and I feel he's settled in with Spire Motorsports. So right now, I'm going to choose Michael McDowell over AJ Allmendinger. I think it'll be close, but I'm going to go with McDowell here. Coming up next, I have Justin Haley against Ty Gibbs, and I'm going to throw another upset in. It's pretty weird all these upsets are going against Joe Gibbs Racing drivers if your name's not Denny Hamlin, but I'm going to go with Justin Haley over Ty Gibbs here. Haley is known for his super speedway racing, and he's had a good amount of solid finishes there. I think Ty Gibbs will have a better run than what he did in February, as he wrecked the car 2 times. So I think it'll be close, but Phil Haley's going to be looking to get an upset win and possibly shock the world. Coming up next, we have Austin Cindric against Zane Smith. And for me, Austin Cindric arguably should have won that race in February. This is going to be a good chance for him to redeem himself, and I expect he's going to be in front most of the race and not be very passable. So this one, we go Austin Cindric here. And then lastly, we have Chris Buescher against Todd Gilliland. Both are Fords, but Todd Gilliland has been good on the super speedways this year, so I'm going to continue to lean with Todd Gilliland. So I'm impressed with how they've done. It's just a matter of not fading throughout these races. So as long as they figure that out, I think they'll be fine. All right, now the next race as we get into round 2. This race is at the Chicago Street Circuit. So now we have a road course. So once again, we're honestly just throwing curveballs after curveballs. So we're going to get into the matchups first that we have lined up, with the first one being Kyle Busch against Denny Hamlin. And for this one, I'm going to go with Kyle Busch here. I've been impressed with their road course program for that 8 team, honestly. We didn't get to see Denny Hamlin race at Mexico City, so I feel we're missing on some statistics. So this makes this matchup a little harder, but I just think Kyle Busch will have a good run at Chicago. And then our next matchup, we have Joey Logano against Bubba Wallace. And I thought about this one a lot, but I feel Bubba Wallace is going to be similar to Tyler Reddick and have some good speed. So this time around, I'm going to choose Bubba Wallace over Joey Logano. And then the matchup after that, we have Chase Elliott against Josh Berry. Kind of like the same thing. Chase Elliott's been really good at the road courses this year, and Josh Berry, not so much on the other hand. So this one, I'm going to choose the fan favorite Chase Elliott. And then our next matchup features Ross Chastain against Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And it's kind of close, but I feel Ross Chastain has also been good at the road courses, and he's learned a lot from Shane Van Gisbergen. So I'm going to pick the 1 over the 47. And then the next matchup is Noah Gragson against William Byron. There won't be an upset here. I think William Byron will do just fine at Chicago with no issues, and Noah Gragson may very well have some struggles in that 4 car. The next matchup on hand is Kyle Larson against Ryan Blaney. This will be a tough matchup, but honestly, we didn't get to see a lot from Kyle Larson last year, but I am convinced that he'll be looking for some redemption, and I think Kyle Larson will come out of the holler very fast, and we'll see what Blaney can bring. I'm not too sure. That's where I have my questions, so this could be a 50-50 matchup too, but I'm going to lean with Kyle Larson. Next up, we have teammates battling, and this one is Justin Haley against Michael McDowell. And for this one, I'm going to pick Michael McDowell, who is also a road course ringer. So it's a good opportunity for Michael McDowell to continue to move on throughout this round. I'm sure it's going to be a hard-fought battle from Justin Haley, but I feel McDowell should just honestly win this one fairly with ease. And then our last matchup is Austin Cindric against Todd Gilliland. Both these guys have looked good on the road courses, but for Chicago, this is going to be a little of an upset for me. I'm going to throw Todd Gilliland to move on to the next round over Austin Cindric. I feel Austin Cindric has been at his best this season, but what will we see at the Chicago street circuit? Who truly knows? But I am impressed with how the 34 has been at the road courses so far this year. And if you thought we're done with road courses, no, we are going to Sonoma for round 3. So once again, we're going to look at the road courses from this year and then compare to last year's Sonoma. So obviously we got 4 matchups, with the first one being Kyle Busch over Bubba Wallace. We already talked about Kyle Busch in the 8 with his good road course program. I think they'll be really good at Sonoma, so I'm going to pick Kyle Busch here. And then our next matchup, we have Ross Chastain over Chase Elliott. Once again, the 9 car has been really good at the road courses, so you could give me Chase Elliott there. And then between Kyle Larson and William Byron, the 2 teammates, I'm going to pick Kyle Larson. He's done well at Sonoma in my opinion. I feel it's really his hometown track too, so he'll be looking to get a really good performance over there. And then our last matchup is Todd Gilliland against Michael McDowell. The exciting matchup, maybe you can call that. I'm sure everyone would like to see how that would go, but in my opinion, I'm going to go with Michael McDowell again over Todd Gilliland. I feel McDowell was really dialed in at Mexico City. Todd Gilliland, they were good, but they just got involved in some trouble, so I'm going to go with McDowell here. We're going to move on to round 4, and we're going to a concrete mile, aka Dover Motor Speedway. So another curveball, just all sorts of just crazy stuff in my opinion. I feel Dover is probably the least craziest track on the schedule, even though it is the Monster Mile. So let's get into our 2 matchups, and the first one is Kyle Busch against Chase Elliott. This one was arguably probably the hardest matchup in this entire bracket right now. I looked all the way back to 2022 at their stats. Both of those guys have been up in the front, leading laps. And I looked at even Nashville and Bristol to at least get some sort of comparison how they've been on the concrete tracks. Kyle Busch has finished like literally 1 spot ahead of Chase Elliott. And honestly, this time around, 3rd time's the charm in my opinion. And I'm going to give this one to Chase Elliott. And I think Kyle Busch will have like short run speed, but when it's going to come to pace, I am going to pick Chase Elliott here as my first driver moving on to the championship round. And then the other matchup is between Kyle Larson and Michael McDowell. And this is no offense to Michael McDowell, but Kyle Larson is probably going to win. If not, he'll finish in the top 5, and the 71 better be a bullet, because I don't see that happening for Dover. So this will set up the championship round at Indianapolis between Kyle Larson and Chase Elliott. For the Brickyard 400, this race will probably be a little crazier than the previous years with this on the line, but honestly, I think Kyle Larson's going to be looking for some redemption after what happened earlier at Indianapolis. He is also the defending race winner, so I think he'll end up finishing ahead of Chase Elliott. So that's going to be the battle between the two Hendrick Motorsports cars, and if this ends up happening, I'm sure the NASCAR fans are going to have a complete field day on the internet, and I look forward to it if this ends up coming true. This bracket will probably not come true because things will get ruined for obvious reasons. So that's going to be my bracket, and now we're going to look back at the last 4 race weekends. The first one is the last race we were at, and that was Nashville Superspeedway, and as mentioned in my race vlog, there wasn't really much passing as the speeds really evened out, but I did enjoy the pit strategy, which did at least make this race exciting. Who would be out in front, and unfortunately dirty air really made the difference, and it was difficult to just make a pass. As we know with the next gen car nowadays, it's one thing to catch someone, it's another thing to pass them. Ryan Blaney did have a long run car over everyone else, and I feel they just absolutely executed throughout the day. We also saw that bump and turn for where the tunnel is make it difficult throughout practice, but once it was race time, there were no issues over there. And moving on to Michigan, to see the Cup cars reach over 200 miles per hour was honestly really incredible, and it honestly really made me happy that we were seeing that. I felt it was a very solid race. We saw Alex Bowman have that really hard hit in the turn 2 wall, but he is okay. We also saw Carson Hocevar end up blowing a tire while leading, so the lead ended up going to Byron, and then Byron just couldn't save fuel, and it ended up seeing Denny Hamlin win a fuel mileage race. And we also saw some blown tires throughout practice, so maybe that was the issue with Hocevar there, but overall, that was intense to see who would end up coming on top, and ended up being Denny Hamlin. And on to the inaugural weekend at Mexico City for the Cup Series. I know Van Gisbergen ended up winning this race by the second biggest margin I've seen since I've been a NASCAR fan. And a lot of people don't agree with his win, which will likely guarantee him to make the playoffs. But overall, the entire weekend was honestly great. I learned the track, and I really liked the track. We also saw Daniel Suarez winning a backup car in the Xfinity Series over Taylor Gray, and a great ending, honestly. And the fans were absolutely crazy too. And it was just a really good road course race, and just a lot of strategies literally everywhere. So it was really hard to keep track of everything, just like the broadcasters were having trouble keeping track of things too. I feel the rain threw a negative factor in this race, as we saw Kyle Busch end up wrecking quite a handful of cars. We'll just have to see if Mexico City ends up returning next season, which it sounds like it will. And most recently, we were at Pocono Raceway, where we saw that track position was absolutely key on those restarts. The restarts were absolutely crazy. It made it exciting to see who's going to end up getting in front. Will the cars that are faster in the back end up finding their way up to the front? I feel they did, or at least based on how I picked my fantasy lineup, I saw it that way. But there wasn't really a lot of passing once everyone settled in, and you saw a lot of teams just play split strategy just all over the field. And then I don't feel tire wear did a lot, but it was intriguing with the ending due to the fuel mileage coming to play once again. I was very impressed with Chase Briscoe's drive, as he just helped guarantee my best NASCAR fantasy performance ever. And I had all those drivers finish in the top 5, but I would have liked to see Elliott finish over Blaney. So shout out to Blaney coming back from that speeding penalty. But overall, I mean, I was really happy for obvious reasons, but I thought it was, like I said, very intriguing to see what would happen. All right, now we're gonna highlight drivers, and the first one, it's gonna be Denny Hamlin. So we saw Hamlin ends up winning at Michigan. Then he sits out in Mexico City for the birth of his first son. And oh boy, were a lot of people complaining about it. And let me just tell you a reality real quick, that if you are traveling internationally, it is not the same as just being in the US and saying, hey, I'm gonna take the private jet, I'm gonna go there. It's not like that. You have to do a lot of extra stuff. There's paperwork. It's a whole process. And secondly, his fiance was still in the hospital. So he chose to stay back, make sure his other kids were taken care of. And I'm not sure why people try to challenge the waiver rule. It's literally black and white. We went over it in the preview, so he got the waiver at the end of the day, so that really shut everyone up. But it's just really a bunch of salty fans that wanted to see him lose all his points. So it is what it is, but that's just NASCAR fans for you. But on the other hand, he's had a really good performance at Pocono coming back, and he has some good momentum. Next driver to highlight, it will be Ryan Blaney, and as of late, Ryan Blaney's long run speed has been massive for him, including getting that Nashville win. Unfortunately, he did have an issue at Michigan. In Mexico City, he ran a smart race, he got a lot of stage points, and then we saw his typical long run speed end up making some positions at the end. And at Pocono, he continued to show that long run speed. He ends up even coming back from a speeding penalty. So that will be something to look out for, even though the schedule doesn't really favor long run speed for him, with Atlanta coming up, which he will contend at Atlanta, and then you have the 2 road courses coming up, so we'll just have to see how that goes for him. Our next driver up topic is the most recent winner of Chase Briscoe, who finally found that win for Joe Gibbs Racing. And I believe it's just going to be full sailing from here. And you know, at the start of the year, they had the speed, but in their races, they would just really fade, especially on the long runs. But it seems they got that all fixed up in the past month and a half, and that team is a big contender right now. I don't think they're as good as Denny Hamlin right now, but I do believe they are better than Christopher Bell. And next on my list, I have Alex Bowman. He is starting to slip down in the point standings. He had that rough Michigan crash, as mentioned, but I do think they're performing just fine right now. It's really just a matter of the fact there are now 11 winners, and he's not one of them. And they're going to need to find some speed that they had at the start of the year. I'm not too concerned right now, but it is definitely something to look out for, as he does hold the last playoff spot on points. Next on the list, it's Carson Hocevar. I don't have a lot of good things to say this time around like last time. I'm sure he's lost a lot of respect in the garage through the majority of it. And then at Nashville, notably, he ends up having that run-in with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. He ends up getting to an incident later in that race, but he did rebound to finish second. So he is contending for race wins, which we also saw that at Michigan until he blew that tire. And then at Mexico City, he ends up getting a big fine for his comments, number 1. And he also had a second run-in with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. So he was also a lap down, and that was the last straw for Ricky Stenhouse Jr., it looked like. And this led to him being a little cautious at Pocono, as there was points in the race. He was around the 47, but you could tell he was being cautious. Hocevar has a long way to go to be respected in the garage currently, and as much things have not been in his control to cost him winning races, he's also making a lot of enemies on the way too. Talking about the driver he's really pissed off lately, that will be Ricky Stenhouse Jr. And the momentum for this team is completely gone, and the driver I just talked about before then has cost him to lose lots of points as well. And it looked like they were going to be contending for a playoff spot, but the 47 is just completely sky falling down the standings right now very quickly. And I respect his maturity at Pocono, not trying to do anything, but I'm sure he's not going to forget about the 77, and there's probably still something coming for him. They're not out of it, as they have Atlanta and Daytona on the schedule still, but they do need to flip the page, in my opinion. They even changed spotters after Mexico City, so the team is honestly a little of a mess right now. And my last driver I'm going to highlight, it will be Shane Van Gisbergen, who ends up getting that win at Mexico City. He did indeed have a slow start of the year. He also ran into issues at the start of the season as well. And the last month and a half, I feel they've been a lot better, and they're starting to get some momentum. I had no doubts he would win at Mexico City, and that was a complete masterclass performance. But right now, it's going to be continuing to learn on the ovals, and then taking advantage of getting playoff bonus points at these road courses, and potentially playing spoiler at the drafting tracks. And then I know people are complaining he owns a playoff spot, but as I've said before, this system does reward winning, and I don't see the complete issue with it, and I know there's some flaws, but it's not like a surprise he won, so I'm very confused why people are surprised that this happened. And you know, he knew the rules, the team knew the rules, and they took advantage of it, and he'll likely secure Rookie of the Year based off that win. Alright, now we are going to highlight what the current point standings look like. So right now we see William Byron continuing to lead over Kyle Larson. He does lead by 54 points over him right now. We see Tyler Reddick starting to slowly drop, just like his teammate Bubba Wallace. And Chris Buescher has been a driver on the move since they suffered that 30-point penalty at Kansas. We also mentioned Alex Bowman earlier, holding that last playoff spot by 20 points over Ryan Preece. AJ Allmendinger starting to make his way back up. John Hunter Nemechek is also starting to gain some momentum again, and Ty Gibbs is slowly coming up in the point standings. And then in the back, you have Shane Van Gisbergen in 31st, who does have that win, but he was not able to get into the NASCAR In-Season challenge. So that is just one thing to note. And then you also have Ty Dillon, who is notably dropped back further in the points. And then just another thing of note of the part-time drivers, Corey LaJoie is no longer running for Cup Series points, since he got a new deal in the Truck Series for Spire Motorsports, so he has transferred his points to the Truck Series for the remainder of the season. Alright, that will do it for myself. Very excited for the NASCAR In-Season Challenge Tournament. I'm not sure how drivers will race differently, knowing you do have to be a certain driver, but it very well will allow some drivers completely under the radar to play spoiler. We could see all sorts of strategies, and I'm sure there will be lots of drama. It all begins in Atlanta this weekend, and I'm hoping I don't miss this race because I will be on vacation, literally like I am right now, and I'm excited to see how TNT does when covering these 5 races. My next NASCAR video will be my race vlog at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for my first Brickyard 400. I've been for the Indy 500, I've been for the NASCAR road course race, IndyCar road course race, but not an oval race for NASCAR. So I'm looking forward to knocking this off my bucket list, and I'm happy they're back to doing the Brickyard 400. So I just want to say thanks for watching. I'm sure this one was long, so if you made it through it, I hope God blesses you and you have a good one. Take care.